My name is Alexandra Bennett, and I have been married to Ethan Bennett for 15 long years. Our life, outwardly perfect, was a facade hiding a painful truth. It was a chilly evening in November when my world began to crumble. I returned home early from a friend's art exhibition, anticipating a quiet night with Ethan and our son Nathan. But what I found was the stark opposite. I heard their voices before I saw them, Ethan's and a woman's, hushed, yet passionate. Creeping closer, I heard words that cut through my heart like a serrated knife. "Once she's out of the picture, we'll have it all, Isabel. Just a little longer." Ethan's voice slithered through the air. Isabel, his mistress, laughed, a sound so cold it could freeze blood. I can't wait to see the look on her face when she finds out. You're a genius, Ethan. Their cruel laughter echoed in the hallway, a sinister symphony that shattered my trust. I stood frozen, a statue of disbelief, as their plan to upend my life unfolded with each word. I had known about Ethan's infidelities, his late nights, the scent of foreign perfume, the lipstick stains I pretended not to see, but this was a betrayal of a different caliber. He wasn't just unfaithful, he was plotting against me, our son, our life. Stumbling back, I found myself in Nathan's room. He was my anchor, my 14-year-old, who looked so much like his father, but with a gentleness Ethan never possessed. "Mom, you're home early." Nathan's voice was tinged with surprise. "Is everything okay?" I forced a smile, my heart breaking in silence. "Everything's fine, honey. Just tired, that's all." I couldn't burden him, not yet. Not until I understood the full extent of Ethan's treachery. That night, as I lay in bed next to the man who had just vowed to dismantle my life, a plan began to take shape in my mind. Ethan thought he could discard me like an old toy, but I was not going to be a silent victim in his cruel game. The stakes were high, but I was ready to play. This was not just about me anymore, it was about Nathan, our future, and the justice we deserved. Ethan Bennett was about to learn that every action has its consequences, and I was going to be the one to teach him that lesson. Eleanor, my mother-in-law, was the unexpected ally in a house divided by secrets and lies. Despite her son's despicable nature, Eleanor's affection for me and Nathan had always been genuine. She was the first person I confided in about Ethan's betrayal. In the privacy of her quaint living room, with its floral curtains and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee, I found the courage to speak. "Eleanor, Ethan is planning to leave me for another woman. He's been plotting this for a while." Her reaction was a mix of anger and sorrow. "That boy has always been selfish. But this, Alexandra, you and Nathan don't deserve this." Eleanor's empathy was a balm, but it was her next words that sparked a fire within me. "We need to protect you and Nathan. Ethan can't just get away with this." The conversation turned to action. We needed a plan, one that would expose Ethan's true colors and safeguard our future. It was a game of chess, and we were 2 moves away from checkmate. Meanwhile, Nathan's bond with his father was disintegrating. I overheard their conversation one evening, a dialogue laced with disappointment and unspoken accusations. "Why are you never home, Dad? You missed my soccer game again." Nathan's voice was a mix of hurt and accusation. Ethan's response was dismissive, his usual defense mechanism. "Business, Nathan. You'll understand when you're older. Priorities, son." But Nathan was older than his years. "Mom's always there. Are we not your priority, Dad?" The conversation ended with Ethan walking away, a cowardly retreat from a confrontation he couldn't win. Nathan's eyes, so much like his father's, yet filled with a depth Ethan never had, met mine. We didn't need words. Our resolve was unspoken. Eleanor and I continued to weave our web. We gathered evidence, bank statements, photographs, and messages. Every piece was a testament to Ethan's betrayal. Our plan was taking shape, a strategy not just for revenge, but for justice. As I tucked Nathan into bed that night, his innocent face asleep in the moonlit room, my resolve hardened. This was no longer just a battle, it was a war for our dignity, for our future. Ethan Bennett, in his arrogance, had underestimated the strength of the bonds he sought to break. He was about to learn that the ties of kinship were stronger than his web of lies. The morning I decided to confront Ethan was draped in an eerie silence. I had rehearsed this moment in my mind, but nothing could prepare me for the reality of it. He was at the kitchen table, his back to me, engrossed in his phone. Without a word, I slid the envelope across the table. It contained the irrefutable evidence of his infidelity, pictures of him with Isabel, receipts from extravagant gifts, and damning messages. Ethan's reaction was a cocktail of shock, denial, and then, disgustingly, amusement. "You've been snooping around, Alexandra? Is this some sort of joke?" His attempt to downplay his betrayal only fueled my resolve. "This is no joke, Ethan. You've been planning to leave me for Isabel. I know everything." For a moment, Ethan's facade cracked, revealing the coward beneath. "Alexandra, let's be reasonable. We can sort this out." "Sort this out?" I echoed, my voice rising. "You want to abandon your family for your mistress, and you think we can sort this out?" The room was thick with tension, a tangible force that seemed to suffocate any remnants of love we once shared. Ethan's next words were the final nail in the coffin of our marriage. "Alexandra, you're overreacting. Isabel understands me in ways you never could. I need someone younger, more vibrant." His words were a slap in the face, a confirmation of every fear and insecurity I'd ever felt in our marriage. But they also ignited a fire within me, a fire of defiance and strength. "Vibrant?" I retorted, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. "Is that what you call betrayal these days?" It was clear then that there was no salvaging our marriage. Ethan had made his choice, and it was not me, not us. I left the room with a newfound determination. I would not be a victim of Ethan Bennett's selfish whims. The days that followed were a whirlwind of activity. Meetings with lawyers, discussions with Eleanor, and late-night planning sessions. We were building a case, not just for divorce, but for justice. And then came the health scare, a routine checkup that turned into a series of tests, the results of which left me reeling. Possible breast cancer? The doctor had said, her voice a blend of professional detachment and sympathy. I was stunned, my mind a chaos of fear and uncertainty. But amidst the turmoil, a plan began to take shape. A plan that would expose Ethan's true nature once and for all. "We'll tell Ethan about the diagnosis," Eleanor suggested during one of our strategy meetings. "Let's see if there's any humanity left in him." It was a gamble, but one we were willing to take. Ethan's reaction to my potential illness would be the ultimate test of his character. It was a test I was almost certain he would fail. The day we decided to reveal my diagnosis to Ethan, the air in the house was thick with anticipation. Eleanor had come over, her presence a source of strength as I prepared to face my husband. Ethan returned home late, as usual, the smell of expensive cologne and deceit clinging to him. Eleanor and I sat in the living room, the envelope containing my medical reports on the coffee table. His eyes flickered with a blend of curiosity and irritation as he walked in. "Alexandra, what's this about?" "You said it was urgent." Ethan's voice held a note of impatience. I took a deep breath, the weight of the moment pressing down on me. "Ethan, I went to the doctor last week. They suspect it might be breast cancer." The words hung in the air, heavy with the gravity of their implication. I watched Ethan closely, searching for a flicker of concern, of love. But what I saw was far more chilling. "Breast cancer? That's unfortunate," Ethan said, his voice devoid of warmth. "But what does this mean for us?" Us. The word echoed mockingly in the room. There was no us, not anymore. Eleanor's gaze was piercing, her disappointment in her son palpable. "It means, Ethan, that your wife needs you now more than ever. She needs your support." Ethan shifted uncomfortably, his eyes darting between the envelope and the door. "Right, of course. We'll figure this out. I need some air." And with that, he left, his retreat as cowardly as it was revealing. His reaction, or lack thereof, was all the confirmation we needed. Eleanor's hand found mine, her grip firm. "We know what we have to do, Alexandra." The following weeks were a blur of activity. My condition worsened according to the narrative we fed Ethan. His visits were sporadic, brief, and devoid of any real concern. It was clear that his thoughts were elsewhere, with Isabel, with his escape plan. But Ethan wasn't the only one making plans. Eleanor and I, with the help of my lawyer, were meticulously crafting the trap that would strip Ethan of his power and reveal his true nature to the world. The climax of our plan came one evening when Ethan returned home to find his belongings packed in boxes, his precious possessions stripped from their usual places. "What the hell is this, Alexandra?" Ethan exploded, his composure finally cracking. "It's over, Ethan," I said, my voice steady, despite the storm raging inside me. I know about Isabel, about your plans to leave me, and I won't be a silent bystander in your little drama anymore. Ethan's face was a canvas of rage and disbelief. You can't do this to me. I'm Ethan Bennett. You're nothing without me. But he was wrong. I was Alexandra Bennett, and I was more than he would ever understand. This was my retribution, my stand against the man who had vowed to love and protect me, but had chosen betrayal instead. As Ethan stormed out, his threats and curses echoing through the empty house, I felt a sense of liberation. The facade was gone, and the truth was laid bare. Eleanor stood by my side, her presence a testament to the strength of the bonds that Ethan had tried and failed to sever. You did well, Alexandra. Now let's see this through to the end. The day of reckoning had arrived. The morning air was crisp and charged with a sense of impending justice as Eleanor and I prepared for the final act of our plan against Ethan. I sat in the lawyer's office, my fingers nervously tapping on the polished mahogany desk. Today we were to confront Ethan with the divorce papers and the full extent of his financial betrayal. The evidence was laid out neatly in folders, each document a testament to his greed and deceit. Eleanor was a rock beside me, her resolve as firm as her disapproval of her son's actions. He won't see this coming, she whispered, a hint of satisfaction in her voice. The door opened, and Ethan walked in, his usual arrogance replaced with a hint of unease. He glanced at the documents, then at us, his expression one of wary confusion. What's this about, Alexandra? Why am I here? Ethan's voice was cautious, a far cry from his usual dismissive tone. I took a deep breath, my voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions inside me. This is about the end, Ethan, the end of our marriage and the end of your lies. Ethan's eyes widened as he flipped through the documents, bank statements, property deeds, evidence of his financial infidelities, all laid bare for him to see. This can't be happening, he muttered, his composure slipping. You can't do this to me. Eleanor leaned forward, her gaze unwavering. You did this to yourself, Ethan. You chose betrayal over your family. Now you face the consequences. The lawyer, a stern woman with an air of unyielding authority, began to outline the terms of the divorce. The division of assets, the alimony, the child support, each point a nail in the coffin of Ethan's grand plans. Ethan's protests grew more desperate, his pleas more pathetic. You can't leave me with nothing. I'm your husband, Alexandra. We can work this out. But it was too late for negotiations, too late for remorse. There's nothing left to work out, Ethan. You made your choice. Now, I'm making mine. The meeting ended with Ethan storming out, his threats of revenge and legal battles echoing hollowly in the office. But his words held no power over me anymore. I had seen the man behind the mask, and I was no longer afraid. As we left the lawyer's office, Eleanor's hand found mine, a silent show of solidarity and strength. You're free, Alexandra. You and Nathan can start anew. And she was right. Despite the turmoil and pain, I felt a sense of liberation, a weight lifted from my shoulders. The battle was over, but the war was just beginning. Ethan Bennett would learn that the price of betrayal was high, and I would be there to ensure he paid it in full. The house felt eerily quiet after Ethan's departure, the silence a stark contrast to the years of deceit and turmoil. But in that stillness, there was a sense of emerging victory. Nathan, now aware of the full extent of his father's betrayal, was a pillar of support. Mom, we're better off without him, he said one evening as we sat in the living room, a space that once echoed with Ethan's false promises. I nodded, pride swelling in my heart for the young man my son had become. Yes, Nathan, we are. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of legal proceedings. Ethan, stripped of his bravado, was a shadow of the man he once pretended to be. His once lavish lifestyle crumbled under the weight of the financial restrictions Eleanor and I had imposed. Then came the day of the final hearing. The courthouse was a monument to justice, its hallowed halls a fitting backdrop for Ethan's downfall. As we entered the courtroom, Ethan's eyes met mine, a mix of anger and desperation in his gaze. But I was no longer the woman he thought he could manipulate and control. The judge, a stern figure of authority, called the court to order. The proceedings were a blur, but each word from the judge was a strike against Ethan's fortress of lies. You have not only failed in your duties as a husband and father, Mr. Bennett, but you have also squandered your family's resources for selfish gains. the judge said, his voice echoing through the room. Ethan's plea for leniency fell on deaf ears. The evidence of his infidelity and financial misconduct was overwhelming. The judge's verdict was swift and unyielding. You are hereby ordered to pay substantial alimony and child support. Furthermore, your assets will be divided as per the agreed-upon terms. Ethan's face drained of color, his future as bleak as the judgment being passed. He had lost everything: his family, his reputation, and now his wealth. As we left the courtroom, Nathan's hand in mine, I felt a sense of closure. The legal battle was over, and justice had been served. Ethan's reign of deceit had come to an end, and with it, the chapter of our lives that he had tainted. We stepped out into the sunlight, the world seeming brighter, more hopeful. Nathan looked up at me, a smile on his face. Mom, we did it. We're free. Yes, we were free. Free from Ethan's lies, free from the shadows of the past. It was the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with hope and the promise of a brighter future. Ethan Bennett had learned the hard way that the wheels of justice, though they grind slowly, grind exceedingly fine. The days following the court's decision were a time of reflection and renewal. The house, once a battleground of secrets and lies, now resonated with the promise of a new beginning. Nathan and I spent our days planning for the future, a future unmarred by Ethan's shadow. One afternoon, as the golden light of the setting sun filled the living room, Nathan turned to me, his eyes thoughtful. Mom, do you ever regret it? Marrying Dad, I mean. I paused, considering the weight of the question. No, Nathan. Despite everything, I don't regret it. Your father gave me the greatest gift, you, and through all this, I've found a strength I never knew I had. Nathan nodded, understanding reflecting in his eyes. I'm proud of you, Mom. You stood up to him, fought back. It wasn't just for me, Nathan. It was for us, for our future, I said, reaching out to squeeze his hand. In the weeks that followed, news of Ethan's downfall spread. His reputation, once that of a successful businessman, was now tarnished beyond repair. But our focus was no longer on Ethan's fate. It was on rebuilding our lives. Eleanor remained a constant presence, her support unwavering. You've both been so strong, she said one day as we shared a quiet lunch. I'm sorry Ethan couldn't be the man you deserved, Alexandra. Eleanor, you've been more than family to me, I replied, gratitude welling in my heart. You and Harrison have shown us kindness and love more than I could have asked for. As the seasons changed, so did our lives. Nathan excelled in his studies, his resilience shining through, and I found solace in my work, my art, rediscovering passions I had long suppressed under Ethan's shadow. One evening, as Nathan and I sat on the porch watching the stars twinkle in the night sky, I felt a sense of peace. The pain of the past was fading, leaving behind lessons and newfound strength. Mom, what's next for us? Nathan asked, his voice filled with hope. Whatever we want, Nathan. We have a whole world to explore, dreams to chase. We're free to live our lives on our terms, I said, my heart full of optimism. We sat there, mother and son, looking up at the vast expanse of the night sky, our hearts light with the promise of new beginnings. The darkness of the past was behind us, and ahead lay a path illuminated by the light of our courage and love. Ethan Bennett's shadow had been lifted, and in its place was the bright dawn of our new life, a life built on truth, strength, and the unbreakable bond between a mother and her son.